Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eSports Report Daily Update for Thursday, April 3rd. I'm Chris Puckett, and we, of course, are coming off the Call of Duty Championship this past weekend. The $1 million tournament went down for Call of Duty Ghost with 31 of the best squads from around the world competing for that $1 million prize pool. It was an epic event, and so many storylines coming out of it. One of the biggest is complexity. They're starting a dynasty here, ladies and gentlemen, and it can't go unnoticed. They took home the $400,000 grand prize. So on today's show, we'll be diving deeper about that run they made in LA. So we'll talk about all kinds of things, from the matches that they had to the teams that they matched up against, and even the individual performance on that squad. We also have the regular eSports Report coming up live at 7 o'clock, where Desi Sanchez and I will break down the entirety of the event. But before we get to complexity, I want to start talking about some of the action that's going down with the MLG Call of Duty League. As you know, we have been creating an online league for Call of Duty where our top squads face off on a regular basis. You can watch all of their streaming from their personal perspectives on MLG.tv, and special matches are cast live from the New York City studio right here on MLG.tv as well. Before we get to Season 2, we have to finish out Season 1, and of course, the big playoff event, the grand finals, will be taking place at PAX this April 11th through the 13th. When is that, you say? I don't have a calendar nearby. Next Friday, guys. Next Friday, we're heading to PAX. 6 of the top 10 teams will be advancing, but we're already making moves towards Season 2. And I want to go over some of the big things that'll be going on. Of course, we have our first play-in tournament. It's the first time that we will not be handpicking the teams. You have a chance to earn your spot. How do you do it? You had to be in the top 16 teams according to Pro Points, and we have a graphic here showing you everything that's going to be going down with Season 2. Now, Season 2, it is going to be a 12-team tournament. We've expanded that past the 10, so 10 returning squads from Season 1, plus 2 new teams that will come in this Saturday, April 5th, from the play-in tournament. That'll be a 16-team double elimination tournament, with the winner of the winner's bracket and the winner of the lower bracket finals securing those final 2 spots. Now, you ask about rosters for Season 2. Each team is going to have 4 starters. Those starters will be announced on April 15th, as all the teams are forced to submit their starting lineup. You have to have at least 2 players from this Season 1 squad. So something interesting to point out there. Also, we're going to have 4 substitutes, expanding it from 2 to 4 subs for Season 2. How do those subs get brought in? They're from the amateur draft. That's going down April 17th, and we have another graphic for you breaking down how this amateur draft is going to work. If you don't get in from that April 5th play-in tournament, don't worry. You can still get picked up by some of the biggest names in Call of Duty. Optic Gaming, Envious, TK, everyone is going to be adding new players to their lineup. You have a chance to be picked. So make sure that you're talking to the pros ahead of time, letting them know that you would definitely be a great fit for their squad. You have to be in the top 250 in the Pro Points leaderboard if you want to be picked in the first 3 rounds. However, for players that are playing in places like Arizona, Maryland, where the gambling laws won't let you play on GameBattles.com, don't worry. We've opened it up so that anyone in North America is eligible in that draft in the 4th and final round. So here's a look one more time for the Season 2 draft order. We will be going lowest seed to highest seed, so starting with the play-in teams all the way up to phase or complexity, or whoever wins this next weekend's PAX event. The draft is going to be limited to NA players only, so that is going to prevent anyone from trying to pick up players over in the UK or any host issues where we'd have from around the world. Now, round 1 through 3, once again, will only be eligible to the top 250 in Pro Points. Round 4 will be open to all. Now, of course, this only applies to the teams that don't get through the play-in tournament, but I am so excited about this April 5th event. It's going to be hosted by Golden Boy while I'm out in Ohio at a wedding. But let me read through some of these teams. You got TVA, you got Termination, that's Conquer and the boys. Carnage made it into the top 16. Regret made it into the top 16, And then this is where it gets interesting. We have Clockwork. That's going to be Sender, Silent Sniper, Facento and the boys. You have Elevate, Complex playing with Felonies. You got Vex Revenge. Now, this is a squad I have starred here. I'm very excited about this. A Canadian team that no one would have given time of day before Call of Duty Championship. But Vex Revenge came out of Complexity's pool. They went on to finish top 8 and take home Slumber was one of the nastiest slayers I saw at the event, and Mech was a fantastic objective player. I'm saying it right now. Do not be surprised if Vex Revenge comes out of this bracket. But it's not going to be easy. They're going up against teams like Clever Fuse, Wild NA, Erupt, who took out Optic twice in our 2K and 5K tournaments, made it all the way to the finals, and the 2K fell just short there in the 5K. Then you have major names like Rise Nation, who we saw finish in the top 8 at CoD Champs, Xfinity, who finished 9th, and we have new squads in Vex. This is going to be Slacked, Huddle, Saints, and Pluto. You saw how strong they were, making all the way to the finals, or semifinal against Kill It and the boys. And Vanquish, now, this is a squad I'm a little bit worried about right here. You have Miyagi announcing this week that he is going to Curse Youth. Will they still play with this lineup? I believe they have to. It's Spacely, John, Enable, and Miyagi. If they can make it through in that play-in tournament, they'll only need to keep 2 of the original 4 players on that roster. Everyone else eligible for that April 17th draft. You get all that? Well, in case you didn't, I brought my boys on the stream today. We have 2 very special guests. Later, TP will be joining the show. Same will Diesel from The Rant. But first, we got to welcome Scott, the GM from eSports Nation, better known as Mountain Dew, and my boy Mike. Mike and I got to know each other very well at the Call of Duty Championship for the first time. He is representing eSports Live. Guys, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Thank you.
Really freaking good. Now, I wanted to bring both of you in because you're representing 2 coverage sites. We have eSports Live and eSports Nation. Both of you guys were out in California for the Call of Duty Championship, and you both brought teams out there. Today, we're going to be talking about complexity, but before we get to that, we were talking a little bit about this before the show. This April 5th play-in tournament, who do you guys expect to get the final 2 spots in Season 2?
I think Xfinity is going to be one of them. You know, they played real well at Champs. They came out, they surprised a lot of people by even getting to Champs in the first place when they qualified at Full Sail. So I think that they're going to be one. And like you said, Vex Gaming, that was some of the dirtiest work that we saw at Champs. They came out as an extreme underdog and proved themselves very, very well. So I think that those 2 are going to end up with the top spots, but it still leaves quite a bit of talent left over to pull from as far as the other teams to draft.
Scott, do you agree with Xfinity and Vex Revenge, or are you going with someone like Rise Nation here?
I'm really excited for this play-in tournament because as we've highlighted already, there's a lot of really sort of lesser known talent, and we have some college champs teams there going in. So I mean, it's going to be really, really exciting to see who comes out of this because only 2 of the teams make it out into the Season 2 of the league. So, I don't know, man. You have to mention Vicious, which is TJ Haley's squad.
Right.
TJ Haley's really interesting. He's a really interesting guy because he's sort of known as a warrior. I think everyone can kind of agree on that. But he's a talented young kid. Obviously wasn't able to participate in champs because he's not of age yet.
Right.
But, I don't know. When it comes to online play, him and his team are really tough to beat. I also like Vex Revenge, obviously, without even I don't know, man. I'm looking at the list of the team names right now, and it's really tough to say who's gonna come out of it. But I know that amateur draft leading up after it, because basically anyone who doesn't qualify into this out of the top 2 goes into the amateur draft. So there's a lot of really untapped talent here. And I think that, it's going to be – I'm just basically really excited to see who comes out on top because it's really
so crazy, man. There's so many good teams on this list. Like, I could go with any of these. Vanquish, Vex Revenge, Xfinity, Rise Nation. All of those guys could make it through, not to mention some of the other squads that you talked about. And Erupt. Erupt is a team that is really – if you watch these guys online, Perplexed and Zuma have had some incredible games. I don't know if you guys know who Zuma is, but I met him for the first time during that online broadcast, and he's got one of the nastiest snipers I've seen. He's so aggressive with it. I feel like anyone could come out on top of this, and as you mentioned, everyone else probably at the very top of that free agent list for the league play. We should also mention here, guys, that now that COD Champs is over, the veterans are going to be looking for young guns once again. Scott, I know you're really familiar with some of the younger players in the scene. Who are some of those guys who weren't 18 that you think will be back on maybe a starting lineup for Season 2?
Definitely, if TJ Haley's team doesn't make it, I think that a lot of teams are going to view him as that kind of guy. Like, oh, if a player can't make a match for some reason, he's a guy who can come in instantly and just fit. I think he could fit in any kind of role. I think a lot of the younger guys, especially when talking to these pros who have more experience and they might be a little bit older, they'll be able to slide right in and do whatever is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to I like TJ Haley's he's the one that always comes to mind first for me. But I also like Slacked. Slacked is a good player. A lot of these there's so much untapped potential due to the age that we didn't see. We saw a lot of the top players, like John, for example. The fact that Denial had to make a move to replace him for the online qualifier. They didn't qualify, but John, honestly, is probably one of the top players in Call of Duty Ghosts in general. I don't know if you were able to see like what he did at UMG Philly, but he backpacked pretty damn hard. So I hope that if VQ doesn't make it, or whatever their situation is, I'm not sure, trying to fill out that roster. But if they don't make it, I'm sure he's going to be one of the top picks in that draft for sure. So I would love to see him get on a solid team.
Yeah, at UMG Philly, actually, I got a chance to commentate a match with Golden Boy, and John was dropping 30 bombs in domination. He was looking so good. He was doing it not only with the Bulldog, which caught me a little bit off guard, but he was also very strong with the MTAR and could switch over to the Remington when needed. I always thought that he was one of the best players in the league. I think now that COD Champs is over, like you said, that a lot of top teams may have forgotten about him for a moment, but as soon as they play him, they will realize that he probably deserves a starting spot. Mike, do you know any of the youngsters, any of the young guys who didn't make it to COD Champs that you think deserve a spot on a starting lineup?
I think I'd have to go with John. Everybody really discounted him. His slaying ability is unlike anybody else's. As you mentioned, he can go through and he can pick up any weapon. He doesn't just need to run an AR, and he doesn't just need to run like an MTAR or something like that. And obviously he showed his Bulldog skills as well. So I think he's probably the most underrated, but he's pretty much the only one that I've really followed as far as any of the underdogs or the younglings. And obviously you've got a bunch of the guys from Curse Youth as well that could end up potentially on other rosters. Yeah,
right now Curse Youth has replaced Chino on their roster officially, and they look like they're picking up Miyagi now. As Methods is now going over to another squad. He'll be joining TK. So we're kind of just at the very edge of a new tidal wave. I feel like the team changes are coming here, guys. As soon as PAX is over, it's going to get crazy. And it's even crazier to think that 2 days after PAX, when all of this team-changing turmoil is going down, rosters will lock with your starters. So this draft is going to be so important to all 12 of these teams to figure out who they're going to be playing with. We talked a little bit about what's going down in the MLG COD League, but after this commercial break, guys, we'll be breaking down every moment of Call of Duty Championships and what it meant to our winners' complexity. Stay tuned. The ESR Daily Update returns when we come back.